Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of this season's Spam Masterclass training series. I'm Fazil. I'm joined by Damo, who is our in house product expert and who will be guiding you through this session. In this episode, we will delve into PAM 360's privilege elevation controls and we'll see how you can weave privilege elevation controls into your access management routines in PAM and beyond. Right? Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping rules. Attendees will be in listen only mode by default, right? So if you wish to give us any suggestions or if you have any questions, please leave them in the Q&A panel and we will get back to you at the end of the session. The session is being recorded, and we will be sending it to all attendees in a couple of days, right? And if you miss out on the Q&A panel, if you have any afterthoughts or questions or feedback for us, feel free to always email them to hello-pam360@manageengine.com. Damo, over to you.
Thank you, Fazil. Hi, hello. My name is Damo. I'm one of the lead technical consultants from Manage Engine, PAM suite of products. I have been working with Manage Engine for around 8 years now. Today, I'm here to discuss about the importance of PEDM for an organization. So before we start, what is PEDM? Why does your organization require a PEDM strategy in place? That is what we're going to discuss for today's session. And before we start about PEDM, I request everyone who has not attended this masterclass series to go look at our YouTube playlist and previous webinar videos, which will be sent out to all the attendees as well. So first of all, PEDM is a security practice that involves managing and controlling of elevation of user privileges you have in your organization. This is important because privilege accounts can be used to access sensitive data and perform critical system functions in an organization. So if these accounts are compromised, it will have a serious impact for an organization's security. So all we need to do is scrutinize and provide enough access to privilege endpoints based on roles and requests. The PAM 360 products is going to offer a role-based access control mechanism to perform this. And also, this tool will help you monitor who has access to what domains on the privilege ladder as well. So PEDM control can also help you in mitigating the risk associated with the privilege account. Some PEDM controls include a least privilege, separation of duties, implementing a strong authentication mechanism, and by implementing just-in-time privilege elevation in your organization. So using this PEDM mechanism, we're going to adhere to the various industry regulations like HIPAA, SOX, PCI, and DSS. That is what we're going to discuss on today's session. So we have seen, we've discussed about the importance of PEDM. Let's see how we are going to implement them in the Manage Engine way. So we have divided it into 3 different controls: elementary, intermediary, and advanced control. Under elementary control, we will have the advanced access control mechanism, like a workflow, which will help you out to implement a proper privilege elevation and delegation management. And under the intermediately, we are going to provide the users with time-based access control mechanism. And in the advanced control, we also have some sort of zero trust mechanism, providing a real-time risk assessment for the user. So all these things will be achieved by implementing Manage Engine PAM 360. Let's quickly have a look at how this is going to be done. So from Manage Engine, we have a 3-pronged approach to implement PEDM. On today's session, we are going to look at only the basic and the intermediary control which Manage Engine PAM 360 offers. The basic controls are available in our Manage Engine Password Manager Pro product, whereas starting from basic till the advanced controls will be available in Manage Engine PAM 360. So the benefits of implementing an access control in PAM 360 would help you to reduce the risk associated. It will improve the compliance in your organization. It will enhance the security as well. Okay, now let's quickly jump into the product. and have a look at how we are going to implement all these PEDM controls in your organization. So first thing, I have logged into the PAM 360 using an admin account where you could see a beautiful dashboard which shows you the total number of passwords you have in your organization, among which how many passwords are expired, how many are in violation, and if you have any conflicting passwords on your organization, which is going to get displayed here. As a part of PEDM and privilege account governance program, we always request our customers to maintain zero in the expired passwords, zero in password violation, and zero in the conflicting passwords tab. So which means you're properly rotating your passwords on a periodic basis, which falls under the privilege account governance. So as we all know, the main reason for privilege abuse would be people don't properly manage their passwords in an organization. So by doing so, we can make sure that there is no privilege abuse happening in your organization. For today's session, we are going to discuss about the access control mechanism. That's the first part. I I already have few pre-configured applications here, which we are going to discuss it for today's session. For access control, we have two scenarios. It can be done in the local account as well as from the resource level. Let's quickly look at how we are going to configure access control for a resource from a resource level. Okay, so I go to the resources tab. I see the list of resources there. I can click on the actions button next to the resource and say configure access control. Now I have an option to configure access control for a resource. All I need to do is select an authorized admin who can perform an authorized, who can approve the request raised by the user. So access control is nothing but it is a workflow where I'm going to configure it for a resource and share it to the user. So whenever a user logs into the application, he's going to request the administrator for access. Upon approval by the administrator, the user will get access to the specific password and perform the required operation on the target machine for a specific period of time. So this is what the access control mechanism is all about. So here I have an option to do an auto approval. Say for an instance, the user, the administrator will be available in office only between 9 o'clock till 6 o'clock. And I want all the requests raised after that should be automatically approved. I have an option to pre-configure that in the product level itself. Not only that, we also have few miscellaneous settings. So let's say I have a couple of administrators as an authorized admin here, and I'm going to go to miscellaneous settings and select how many administrators I want to approve this request, right? So the user raise a request, administrators, I'm going to say 3 administrators should approve. Though I have 10 authorized admin, at least 3 administrator has to approve the password. Only then the password will be visible to the user. So like this, you can go ahead and scrutinize more on the approval mechanism. Also, as you see, we have an option called reset password after exclusive use, which means though I have shared the password to the user, I don't want my user to make use of it after the session is over. So PAM 360 help you reset the password after the specific period of time. This will make sure that even if we give them access to perform an RDP session, even if you give them a password to perform an RDP session, the password will get changed after a specific period of time. This is in the resource level. Let's quickly look at how it looks in the account level. I'm going to pick one of the accounts here and say configure access control. Here in the account level, so if I do it in the resource level, it is applicable for all the accounts underneath the resource. But I want the configuration to be done in the account level because only this password is more important for me. So I'm going to do it in the account level. Again, I'm going to choose the required administrator as an authorized admin, and I can also specify the approval mechanism, how many administrators should approve, whether the password should get changed after the specific period of time, and I want whether an auto approval to be enabled or not. So which can be predefined in Manage Engine PAM 360. So the next thing is the self-service privilege elevation part for Windows as well as Linux. So what is the self-service privilege elevation is all about? So for Windows, the self-service privilege elevation is nothing but a user will log into a Windows machine and he needs access to specific application as an administrator for specific period of time. So let's say I'm going to log in as a user. I hope you can see my other screen with the purple window there, where I have the list of, I have already logged in with a password user, a kind of user, which will be assigned to the end users you have in your organization. And then I'm going to show you how it looks when an self-service privilege elevation performed by for a user. So I'm going to launch a connection to the specific Windows device. I have pre-configured the command prompt to run as the privilege account. So whenever you do a right click on every application, you might see run as administrator, but as you see, there is an option called run as spam 360 privilege account. So here we made a configuration that, let me quickly show you the resource action. Okay, so this is the resource. Okay, so this resource has been pre-configured. I can go out here, admin, and then I have an option called allowed apps and script. So I have pre-configured command prompt. All I need to do is click on add and provide the application name for which I'm going to perform self-service privilege elevation along with the file name and the SHA 256 value of that particular application, which I have already done. So I'm going to go to that command prompt and click on run as privilege account. Now it is going to ask me the reason to elevate the permission, and I'm going to say to install an application. And then I click on elevate, which means the account has been elevated with the pre-configured account. So I'm going to type who am I, and it says I have logged in as an admin. However, if I try to open the command prompt without elevating my permission, and if I look at who am I, it says I have logged in as a user called RDP user. So which means whenever I wanted to perform any administrative task, I can make use of this run a spam 360 privilege account option to elevate my permissions for specific period of time. That's what the self-service privilege elevation for Windows is capable of in Manage Engine PAM 360. We also offer self-service privilege elevation for Linux, where the commands can be executed. Let me quickly show you how it works. So look at here, I have logged into the mission using an account called test user. However, if I'm going to type PAM elevate as a prefix in front of my command, it is going to log in as the root user and perform the required operations. So for instance, I need to execute a delete command. I have pre-configured in my mission that this delete command should be executed as the root user. Then all I need to do is execute PAM elevate space that rm or whatever command which I'm going to execute. So that command alone will be executed with root permission. However, any other commands which is executed without PAM elevate prefix will be considered as executed by the test user. Any commands which is executed with PAM elevate commands in front will be considered as a root user. So the next thing we are going to discuss is about the just-in-time privilege elevation for the domain account. So let's say there is a user. Let me quickly show you. So there is a user in my domain controller called UC user. The user is just a part of domain user group, and I want this user to be elevated as an admin for specific period of time. So I have already pre-configured. Let me show you that. I go to the resources tab and PIM 360 domain controller. For this user, I have enabled the just-in-time elevation for the domain account. So it is going to request me for access. So the user has to request. During the request mechanism, it is going to ask me to which account you want this to be elevated. I can just type in there and click on send so that the user will be elevated. Once again, I see that the elevation is not enabled at the moment. Let me quickly enable it for you. And I have requested for the control, and I'm going to log in as the administrator and approve the request raised by the user. And it shows me that it is going to elevate this user to all these groups, which is account operator, administrator, backup operator, and third publisher. And I'm okay with that. So I'm going to say approve and click on approve. So once I click on approve, the user should be elevated. Let's quickly have a look if the user is elevated. Find. I'm going to find the UC user. Oh, sorry, I forgot to check in here. Check out the password, and it gives me a message that you will have access only for 10 minutes of time. And once I do this, if I go ahead and look for this particular user, you see that the user has been elevated as an administrator. He got added in third publishers group, backup operations, and account operators group, which is available in my Active Directory. Not only the elevation part, once the user done with the password, let's say the user need access to it for 30 minutes and he's done with the password and he's going to click on check in. So once you check in the password will get automatically closed. The user can no longer make use of it. Then if I try to launch a connection to that same resource, and then if I try to refresh this, look at the properties of this user, I could see that the user has been delegated again. So he was part of an administrator group and he is no longer a part of administrator group now. So such configurations can be done with Manage Engine PAM 360 using the AD Manager Plus integration available in Manage. So we also offer the remote app functionality in Manage Engine. Suppose if you already have a configuration for remote app and I wanted to do a session to a particular device. So let's say I wanted to request access for a particular device and I'm going to say test and get it approved by from my administrator. I got to go out here, click on admin, search for the password request. You will also get a pop-up to approve it. So I'm going to just approve the request raised by this particular user now and say approve. And once I go back, I'm going to get the option to check out. And now I have an option to launch a session to a particular server manager application alone. So remote app functionality in Manage Engine PAM 360 means that I'm going to give my access, the user access to a particular application instead of giving him access to the whole server. As you see that when a remote app is executed from Manage Engine PAM 360, the user did not get access to the whole server. Instead, he got access to the server manager application alone. I can also just go ahead and launch a connection to the other predefined things, which is calculator. So when I launch a session to the calculator, only the calculator app gets opened, nothing else. So like this, so let's say I want my user to access only the MS SQL Studio I have in my organization. I can also just go ahead and configure the remote app and provide access to the MS SQL Studio instead of giving whole access to the server. So that is called the a remote app functionality which is offered by Manage Engine PAM 360. And one more important stuff here is the self-service privilege elevation, which we have already discussed. We have something called command control. Let me quickly show you what it means. So command control is an option which is applicable for the Linux-based sessions. I'm going to launch a session to a Linux machine, and you see here, I'm trying to type in here, I could not type in anything. So if I have configured command control functionality, all I need to do is execute the commands which was given to me. So I can just say who am I can execute the df command. We can go ahead and predefine the command which can be executed for the user, and that can be done by the administrator. So all the administrator will do is he will just go ahead and click on the action button next to the user and then say configure SSH command control. Here you can just go ahead and configure the command groups which has to be configured. So say for an instance, who am I is a command which is a part of basic administration. I can just go ahead and choose it, or if I want to have any system related resource management commands, I've already created a group for it, or I wanted to have a hardware information, I can create a group for it. So suppose I want to create a specific group, I can also go to the admin tab and say SSH command control, command sets. Here I will have an option to create the commands for password reset functionality as well. Okay, so the next thing is about what if I have self-service privilege elevation along with the command control in Linux-based session. So I'm going to launch a session to a particular Linux device and show you how it looks when a command control is enabled along with self-service privilege elevation. Again, I cannot type in anything here. I have to place my mouse on it and see that the user is allowed to execute all the commands listed out here, but he is allowed to elevate and execute only one single command. So as a user, I execute who am I, and it shows that I have logged in as a test1 user. However, I'm just going to click on elevate and execute, and you could see that the command was executed as a root user, right? So you can just go ahead and configure PAM 360 in a way that I want list of commands to be executed as a normal user, like a remote login user, and list of commands to be executed as an elevated user in Manage Engine PAM 360. So most importantly, the just-in-time privilege elevation in Manage Engine PAM 360 revolves around elevating the local user to a particular group or OU. So let me also show you how the just-in-time elevation for Windows-based device works, for the local accounts, I mean. I'm going to process the request. Okay, so it looks like there is a problem with this resource, which I've already seen it. Okay, no worries. So like we did for just-in-time elevation for the domain account, we can also do it for the local accounts as well using Manage Engine PAM 360. So all you need to do is implement a proper privilege elevation and delegation management throughout your organization for all your Windows, Linux, network devices. You might have some load balancer. So for all the devices, please implement a proper privilege elevation and delegation management functionality using Manage Engine PAM 360. That would be the that would secure our organization from any threats happening in the real world. So let me quickly recap what we have discussed for today. So all we need for your organization is a proper PEDM strategies in your enterprise routine. Force application and command control for Linux-based devices. Make sure to implement a proper self-service privilege elevation for the Windows and Linux. For Windows, as we've seen, you can allow your users to access an application for a particular period of time by elevating its privilege, right? For Linux, we have seen we can give them a prefix PAM elevate and execute a command so that that gets executed as a a root account or an authorized account from Manage Engine PAM 360. So we should also grant just-in-time elevation to perform critical business operations for a stipulated period of time. And please make sure to implement access control workflow for all the available critical endpoints, and also implement a multi-level implementation of privilege elevation and delegation management using Manage Engine PAM 360. On today's session, we have discussed only about the basic and the intermediate controls available in Manage Engine PAM 360. On the next session, we will be discussing more about the advanced controls offered by Manage Engine PAM 360. The floor is open for the questions, and before that, if you have any suggestions, or if you have any reviews about managing in PAM 360, if you have already taken a review, that's fine. Thanks for that. If you haven't taken a review about managing in PAM 360, please make use of the QR code available in the screen to review us in the corner. If you have any questions or queries, the floor is open for the Q&A panel. Feel free to post it in the Q&A panel, guys.
I'll pick out questions, I think.
Sure. So I have my colleague Fazil here who will take up the Q&A questions.
Damo, we have a question here from one of our attendees who's asking a question about password sync. Could you elaborate on your question? So could you explain password sync to them, Damo?
Yeah, let me just, yes. I'm not sure about what you're referring about password sync here. So if my understanding is right, you're talking about synchronizing passwords. So for example, we have something called password verification, which means in PAM 360, if you have a password, you will have an option to verify the password. Let me quickly show you. So let's say this is a resource. I can just click on it and click on verify password. I'm not sure if you're talking about this one, which will help you out to synchronize with the target mission and let you know if the password stored in Manage Engine PAM 360 is in sync or not. If not this one, we also have something called synchronization schedule, which is nothing but when you discover a devices, we have something called synchronization schedule. So any device which we are going to onboard inside Manage Engine PAM 360, let's say I have a group called computers in my Active Directory, and it contains 10 Windows resources. So during the discovery process, we discover all those 10 resources. Maybe in future, when you have a new resources added to that particular group, PAM 360 is capable of synchronizing all those resources along with along with the user accounts available from Manage Engine PAM 360. Does that answer your question? My organization is currently set to have password sync to generate every day, but it has been failing. Maria, please do us a favor. Please write us in the email address hello-pam360@manageengine.com. We will schedule a call with you to help you out with this problem. Okay. Or you can directly reach out to our support team in the email address pam360-support@manageengine.com. We will schedule a call and help you with this. Any other question? The floor is still open. We will wait for another 2 minutes. Okay. What is the email? Okay, so the email is broadcasted to everyone. You can either reach out to us in the email hello-pam360@manageengine.com or pam360-support@manageengine.com. Okay, so I think there is no more questions. Puzzle, we can, if there is any question, feel free to write us in the email address which was given by Fazil, and we will take it forward from there. Once again, thank you everyone for joining the session. I hope the session was helpful. Feel free to reach out to us anytime if you need. Thank you, everyone.